Hey Lag Nation, welcome back to the Lag channel, bringing you another Lag video. We hope you guys enjoyed. Let's get right into it.
Hey guys, it's Lag Matarbuckle, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about what we want in Halo Infinite's multiplayer. This is the third video in a 4-part Halo Infinite wishlist video series. If you haven't seen the previous videos, click the corresponding card for the video you missed. I hope you guys enjoy.
Now let's move on to the multiplayer matchmaking. You had mentioned the Battle Pass system earlier. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so MCC sort of introduced their own version of a Battle Pass system. It was very rudimentary, but it did have like the pages of items you get as you unlock the further, the more you play, the more you rank up in that Battle Pass or season. So if Halo Infinite were to expand on this, they could have armor skins, weapon skins, vehicle skins, armor effects. It could also include nameplates, and maybe even DLC weapons and vehicles that come out later. There could even be firefight/announcer voices as well. That would be really cool to see those sort of things in a season pass or a battle pass. So the way it would work is when you first pay for it, you'd pay maybe like $10 and you'd be able to get everything for each rank. Level 1 you get a nameplate, level 2 you might get a skin, level 3 you might get, later on as the game has been out for a while, you might get a weapon. Now you might think, well, I don't want to have to pay for weapon. You wouldn't necessarily have to. They could make it to where certain things are free. So like game-changing items, like weapons and new vehicles that they've added to the game, they could make those for everybody. They can make them free. Everything else that I listed, all the skins, the nameplates, the armor effects, and the announcer voices could all be paid battle pass for. Because you don't need those things to win the game. You don't need them to do better. But they would also give 343 some money without having a really bad microtransaction thing going on.
Like, for example, the current rec system as we see it in Halo 5.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, those things that I just mentioned are all cosmetic to the game, to your armor, the voices. One other thing I did not mention, though, is maybe they could add in some rec points. Like, you get to level 5 in the Battle Pass, and you get like a crate of 2,000 rec points that you can use and you can spend in Warzone. I don't know whether they'd make that for the people that pay for it. They could make it free, and I think making it free would be a smart idea for those people who, don't have a lot of time to play the game, but they made it to level 5 in the season pass, and they can go now play Warzone because they have rec points to go buy things.
Mm-hmm.
Before we start getting into Warzone and recs and stuff, talk about the weapons really fast. In Halo 5, there's an abundance of weapons. Way too many power weapons. There's way too many super, over-the-top, powerful power weapons, like the Nornfang and Delta beam rifle. These honestly just break the game. Even though they're fun to use, they break the game. They make it unfair and not that fun to play. I think they need to tone it down on how many variants of each weapon they have. They need to have just one, at max 2 weapons for a certain thing. You might have 3 rocket launchers total, the base one being counted in that. So you have their base weapon, and then you might have 1 or 2 extra variants of that weapon, but no more than that. And there shouldn't be any variants of loadout weapons.
Mm-hmm.
There are way too many assault rifles, pistols, SMGs, DMRs, battle rifles in the game of Halo 5. Trying to find what you want is just annoying. What they need to do is have all those different variants, break them down, find out what makes them that variant, take their attachment off, and let you unlock those in the game. That could be in the Battle Pass as well. That could be something that everyone gets for free. Maybe certain versions of the same thing. So you might have a Covenant bayonet, you might have a Forerunner bayonet, you might actually have a human bayonet. Maybe you can unlock the human one by, for free in the Battle Pass, and maybe the other variants you'd have to pay for. You still get that ability in game. You can still do that. Yours just doesn't look the same as everyone else's. But yeah, there'd be things like sights. Let's say you want the recon sight on your assault rifle. Say you want a suppressor on the end of it. You can put that on there, and then you can make that be your loadout. I know you guys might not like loadouts for Halo, but it would only be for Warzone and Firefight and custom games. It wouldn't be for matchmaking. Please, 343, don't put loadouts in normal matchmaking.
Agreed. And with some of the stuff you mentioned with weapon attachments. People might think it's a little bit too much like Call of Duty. Can you expand a little bit on exactly how limited it is to what you'd find?
So in Call of Duty, you have all these different attachments. Barrel attachments, the physical barrel of your gun, the sight, the stock, the grip, the trigger, the magazine. You have a perk on your weapons, the underbarrel of your gun. It wouldn't be all that. Halo would have a sight, scopes. Choose between the different ones you want. You could have a barrel attachment for like maybe a compressor or a suppressor. Or not compressor, my bad, a compensator or a suppressor. You could have, or maybe, I doubt they would introduce muzzle flash as a thing, but maybe they could put that on there. A flash suppressor, I think is what it's called. And honestly, that might not be a bad idea if you want to go the stealthy route, but a suppressor also conceals the flash of the weapon, so it's fine. But another magazine, not another one, but like a larger magazine for your weapon to maybe add something. And maybe on very, very rare cases have some sort of underbarrel. Maybe a type of grip, but most likely not. Maybe just have like, I know in the books the assault rifle has a grenade launcher. I don't know how that would work, and it could possibly be game breaking, but it might also be really cool to see that in the game lore wise. For the lore fans out there, I think that would be really nod to some of the Halo books that mention it a lot.
Okay, I see what you mean.
And I think the thing to finish up this little weapon section of multiplayer would be to bring back dual wielding. Now, I know dual wielding in Halo 2 and 3 was kind of a touchy topic. Everybody loved dual wielding, but at the same time, it was really bad because holding those weapons just by themselves, they just weren't that strong. They weren't powerful. There wasn't balance, whether you're dual wielding or single-handedly holding the weapons. I think one way that they could touch on this and maybe make it better, and I know this is also a touchy topic, is bring back Bloom from Halo Reach. And before you guys freak out and say, no, Bloom is terrible, no, you can't have dual wielding, that makes the weapons really bad, just hear me out. If you're dual wielding SMGs, there could be some sort of Bloom where, your reticule is getting bigger and bigger the more you're shooting, like maybe at twice the rate as it normally would, which is holding the weapon by itself. And there could also be recoil, a lot more recoil. If you're holding weapons with single-handedly, the recoil is going to be a lot higher. Whether if you're holding the same weapon with both hands, you can control the gun a lot better. You're going to have better accuracy. You're not going to have as much recoil. This would also help out in those long-range maps like Hemorrhage from Halo Reach. You guys notice how in Hemorrhage, it was a lot easier to play that map than in previous Halos, like in Halo 2 on Blood Gulch, where people could, pick you off from across the map with a battle rifle. Whereas in Halo Reach, the Bloom actually kept people from shooting as fast from all the way across the map. And I'm not suggesting that same amount of Bloom or anything. Maybe even cut it in half. It doesn't need to be as severe. You are a Spartan super soldier, but I do think that it should be there to help balance gameplay on those big open maps.
Well, in the case of dual wielding, the complete opposite. I do not like it. Like you had mentioned, those weapons that could be dual wielded were usually very, very underwhelming on their own. And with Halo 4 and 5, especially 5, for example, you have the SMG that has changed a lot from what it was in Halo 2 and 3, which was almost unusable if you weren't dual wielding it. I think it's best to keep it on the shelves. As for the Bloom, I could see it maybe making a small comeback. I wouldn't mind, especially if it's adjusted, just like you mentioned, and how it was done in Halo Reach, where the title updates playlists have a very limited Bloom compared to what it came when the game came out. So, in conclusion, yes. Dual wielding, no. Bloom, comeback, but with a tweak.
Nice. I can understand how you feel about dual wielding. That's a really hard subject to talk about because, either way, you're going to disappoint someone on that. There's a lot of things that can't be done to even it out without completely changing the weapon's damage scales. So moving on to Rex. So I think that we should still have rec packs. I think that there should still be daily rec packs. I think that the daily rec packs, though, should definitely be... You should get more from them, and you should get more useful items from them. I know in the Halo 5 rec packs you get plasma pistols and bolt shots and plasma rifles, and just things that don't really help you in Warzone. It'd be nice if you got like a tank, a warthog, a rocket launcher, something that would actually help you in Warzone. That way, the people that don't have a lot of time to play can hop on right after they get home from work. Grab the daily pack and then go and play like a game or two of Warzone. They have stuff for it. They haven't been able to grind for rec points to buy the packs, so they play. When I say buy the packs, I mean with in-game rec points, not microtransactions. We don't need microtransactions in that way. That's why a battle pass would work.
Any other, when it comes to that specific detail?
Not that specific detail, but it would be nice to earn rec points from campaign missions, custom games, Forge, even theater.
To a limited amount, you mean?
Yeah, to a limited amount. Maybe a little bit more than what Halo Reach was giving us. I think it should maybe be time-based. If you're in a match for this amount of time, yes, I know people can just turn their Xbox on and just leave it there for a day. But I mean, maybe it cuts off after like an hour. After an hour, you don't accrue any more points, you get what you get. But you'd still get some, and then that way people who want to do the campaign still don't have a lot of time to do online grinding, you still have some stuff for the Warzone. That way they're not left out, because I'm pretty sure you mentioned something about people being left out at the beginning of Halo 5, Rob?
That's correct, yeah. Not only at the beginning, but the months and year after it had come out.
Yeah. Another way to get rec points would be from challenges. I think they should bring back daily, weekly, and monthly challenges like they had in Halo Reach. They did have monthly
Those
challenges,
were
right?
definitely... no, I believe not.
Okay.
But it was definitely a great way to keep that replayability going. And it worked really well for Halo Reach. At least it kept me engaged. I usually don't go for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I actually normally don't go for challenges, but the Halo Reaches, that kept me engaged. I was like, oh man, I gotta do these, I can do these. It's gonna be easy, it's gonna be fun. It forces people to play different things they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I mentioned by accident earlier monthly challenges. Well, if they didn't have that, they could even have seasonal challenges. Like for the battle pass, have a seasonal challenge. That season, you gotta do this many daily and this many weeklies and have this many kills overall, and it's like you get some reward at the end of the season. That would be kind of cool.
Of course, yes. I agree. And since that will be all with the Rex, let's move on to players and movement. Let's start with something that's not very controversial, and that's the return of playable elites. I know a lot of people have been asking for it since Halo Reach. I believe it's time for that comeback, yeah.
Definitely.
I know there's clans out there that prefer going for elites instead of being Spartans. There's also, people that would just like the variety. Have any words about how it could be balanced?
Yeah, so you actually mentioned earlier clan, and that's a point I want to touch on for a second here. I actually really love the ability to have Covenant clans. Not that I liked being a Covenant clan, but I loved fighting them, because it actually made a little bit more sense, and you could dive deeper into your character as whoever you play as in your clan, and you're fighting the aliens, and I thought that was really fun. But yeah, I definitely want to see the Halo 2 anniversary / Halo 3, a mix between the two maybe, for elites. Maybe the armor styles from Halo Reach too. There were some pretty interesting different armors from that game that I liked as well. But also the size. And I think the size is a big thing that I didn't like about Halo Reach. Just they were the exact same size as the Spartans. And I know there's a balancing issue. I do think that they should be a little bit bigger. And I think their hitbox should be a little bit bigger. And maybe that's going to be unfair, but it wouldn't be for ranked playlists. It wouldn't be for competitive play. It'd force you to play as your Spartan. It would solely be for social game types and custom, and maybe even Warzone too. I could see the Warzone, having a joint operation between Sengeli and Spartan 4s, working together to train. That's a way that it could make sense.
Lore-wise, it would make sense, and the possibilities are really engaging.
Definitely. Moving on to a little bit more of a controversial topic, the movement in the next Halo game. I know a lot of
What-
people will be disappointed to hear this, but it's most likely going to be advanced movement, like what we saw in Halo 5. But there are ways that they can fix this and improve on it and just make it work better for the game.
Can you give us some ideas on how that can happen?
Yes. Sprinting. Let's start with that. I know a lot of people hate sprint, but it's coming back. It's like in every first-person shooter game, you have a sprint. And I think they did it really well in Halo 5, sacrificing your ability to regenerate your shields while you're sprinting. I felt like that was really fair. Also, before you gain up that speed, your max speed in sprinting, if you were to get shot, it would stop you in your place. Not necessarily, but it felt like it did. It would really put a damper on your movement and make you stop sprinting. It was very annoying, but it balanced sprint.
Yes, there was a trade-off for the fact that you can increase your movement like that.
Yeah.
What about the other Spartan abilities? Let's
Yeah,
say
so-
sliding, for example.
Sliding, yes. I definitely think sliding should be back in the game, and I know you and I disagree on this fact, but I think sliding should be longer. And my main reason I think that is because of Apex. I really love the sliding in Apex. If you're going down a hill, you continue to slide down the hill till you're at the bottom of it. And if people want to say, "Oh, your Spartan's too heavy, you can't slide," that you would end up stopping because of friction or whatever. They could always just like put the thruster pack blurts on your back or whatever to be out while you're sliding to make it look like it's propelling you forward, when it's really not. It's just the slide of the game.
For the sliding, like you mentioned, I'm a little bit against it. That's not something I use ever, but I know it's a standard with games lately, and something that a lot of players expect. Not maybe Halo players, but from other games. So it coming back and being changed, I can see it being a thing, definitely.
Actually, that you bring up a good point. Other players expect it, not necessarily Halo players. That might be a good way to get other players into playing Halo and grow the Halo community.
Now for thrusts, I believe you had mentioned that you would like to see the time between thrusts to increase, so people can't over-rely on it, right?
Yeah, so when you thrust in game, a lot of times I find myself and other players using thrust to get around the map, and I feel like, we'll talk about this later, but I feel like they broke the maps because of that. But I think it would help if they made that time in between thrusting a little bit longer, like add a second to it. You know, you're not able to use your thrust for a whole nother second before using it again, and that would really just make people's reliance of it go down. You know, you save it for when you only need it, because who knows, you could use it getting around the map and then you get into a fight and it's not recharged yet. You can't use it yet.
Okay.
Clamber. We haven't talked about Clamber yet.
No, we had not. How would you like to
personally-
see a change?
I personally love Clamber. I feel like it was really nice to add to Halo, but at the same time, I feel like it kind of broke Halo for what Halo is. Halo has always been about crouch jumping and trick jumping and doing that. And with Clamber, it kind of took that away. And I think there's a few ways that can be fixed. In Halo, if you're sprinting and you come up to a waist-high barrier, I feel like if you press your jump button, it should make you vault over it. That way you keep up your speed and your momentum. I think clambering should also be used in actual clambering. And maybe it needs to be called something else. But like, say you jump up to an edge and it's way above you, I think your Spartan should actually lift his hands up and grab onto the edge and pull himself up. And then that way it could be used for, hiding up in corners. Say there's a stack of boxes in the corner of a room. You can clamber up on top of the crate and you can sit up there. Or I don't necessarily think maps should be built around that, though. I think clamber is definitely something that you should be using when you mess up a jump. So say you're jumping from one platform to another and you miss it and you're going to fall to your death. Well, you can hit that jump button again and it will grab onto the edge and pull yourself up. I think that should take a little bit longer than it does in Halo 5. That way people have time to shoot you, because, in any other Halo game, you would have fallen to your death. But in this Halo game, they give you a redemption. But I think that redemption should come at a cost by letting other people shoot at you while you get up, and it should be a little bit longer than it is in Halo 5. That way, it evens it out. Definitely kind of touched on it a little bit in there. The way maps are made. And this is getting out of the movement and going into what maps and stuff we want. But one of the things that made Halo back in the day was maps being built around the walking speed. I know it was still jogging, technically running, but it's walking compared to what it is now. They would jump, and you would do crouch jumps for like little special areas and little trick jumps to get around things to pop up behind the enemy. That's kind of what made those Halo Arena maps Halo, which is why I mentioned the clamber would be for if you messed up a jump, because I think maps should go back to being like that. Obviously, they need to be bigger for your sprinting and your sliding, but they don't need to necessarily be focused around clambering up to edges to get there. You should be able to walk up to those edges. You should be able to sprint up those edges. You shouldn't have to clamber to get places.
Okay.
The next thing that we can talk about is hovering and ground pound. Rob, what do you think we should do with hovering and ground pound?
Just get rid of it.
Not a bad idea.
It's plain and simple.
All right, moving on. Yeah, honestly, I think hovering broke sniping. I use it so often. I'll be behind a wall, completely safe, and I'll jump up, hover above the wall, snipe someone, and fall back down. It definitely makes it unfair, and it takes away kind of the skill of sniping, having to always peek out and all that. It's ruined it for me, and I think it's ruined it for a lot of people. Ground pound, though, even though it's super fun and satisfying when you get kills with ground pound, I don't think it should be in Halo. It just doesn't feel Halo to me.
No, it doesn't. Even with your thruster pack, it still doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
As to why exactly you're, how exactly that's working.
Maybe if it was something that was an insta-kill only if you landed directly on the person, I could see, but not the whole, like, kill anyone in a radius around you sort of thing. That doesn't really make sense to me. Especially other Spartans.
Agreed.
Okay, so equipment. Equipment was the next thing that we wanted to talk about. We want equipment from Halo 3 to make a return. But it would also include the armor abilities that you had in Reach, but they would be in an equipment form. So you could get, your invisibility, which has always kind of been an equipment thing. It's been either the circle ball, it's been like a little triangle from Halo 1, But it needs to be something you pick up. Same with Bubble Shield, but the Halo Reach version of it, where it regens you inside. Jetpack should not be something you spawn with unless it's custom games. It should be something you pick up off the ground. And there could even be like maybe limited fuel in it or something. Or maybe you just grab it and when you die with it, you've lost it and you have to go find it again. That would kind of even out those weird things you started with in Halo Reach that made everyone have different stats in the game. But now it's more evened out, and it's something you have to race for against the other enemy team to try to get. Definitely think,
makes sense.
Yeah, and I definitely think things like trip mines should come back. Trip mines were so fun. Throw it down when a warthog's coming, it blows up. Radar jammer, not too useful, but I mean, it's still cool to have it there. The energy drain was awesome. Like froze any vehicle you threw it at. That was really drained anyone's shields. The flare was annoying, so I could see how that would be useful.
Definitely, it would be nice knowing that you have a few enemies around the corner and then just having that flare to give you that advantage.
Yeah.
For a little bit, at least.
If they were to bring back armor lock, they would have to do it in a way to where when you go into armor lock, it doesn't kill the vehicle attacking you. Like, say the vehicle runs into you while you're in armor lock, your body would still fly from being hit. You just wouldn't take any damage because your armor is locked. It could be like a lockdown thing, not with the whole shields and everything, but more of a, the way Spartans lock their armor when they're falling from orbit.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Moving on from equipment, we want to talk about game lobby size next. Halo has always been really far behind everyone, at least from what I can tell in the last 10 years of how many people are in a game. There's games out there with 150 people in it that work completely fine, no lag at all. And Halo is over here stuck with 12v12 at best on Warzone. I think Warzone should be 64 people. I think there should be 2 teams of 32 with enemy AI spawning in and you have to attack and all that stuff. I feel like it would work out so well. I think they could do the same thing for big team battle as well, having 2 teams of 32. You could spawn on massive maps. They could even incorporate a pelican now that the maps are so big. You can transport your teammates to the enemy base to capture the flag, that sort of thing.
Exactly, and from there we can bring, for example, the transport vehicles. into the fray. For example, Transport Warthog, or in Halo Reach we had the Falcon for that. And also, since the player count is bigger, maps are bigger, and a Pelican wouldn't be out of place being on the game. For example, in Battlefield, I know at times I've done it, where we get in a helicopter, we drop on the objective, helicopter leaves, keeps doing its thing. That sort of thing. That type of moment, executing that strategy, that's an excellent game moment. That's what keeps bringing you back in.
Definitely. That's definitely something that I would love to see. And they could also do it with custom games. Maybe not as big on that scale. They could at least raise it to 32 people. Think about the clan communities that have too many people in their clan to be in one lobby. I know that's happened to us before as well. And like the game night communities that want to have these massive game nights. That would help out a lot of people that are wanting to play with a lot of people.
For example, when it comes to clans or communities, Matt and I have had several cases where we're in a clan and we want everyone to play together, but we have only a limited amount to put into each game. We have to split up, and that doesn't tend to be as fun. And with a 32-player lobby, at least that would really alleviate, not only for us, but for everyone that's playing together. And there's also all these moments that you can really build and keep you in the game.
True. There's definitely some drawbacks. I mean, trying to control 32 people in a lobby was definitely difficult, but that's also something that would definitely be worth it to have that many people in a game. Another point that I'd like to touch on is Firefight. I know a lot of people like to play Firefight, but it's the old Firefight. I really love the ODST Firefight, not necessarily the Halo 5 Firefight, because it's just the same exact thing as Warzone. I'd love to see Firefight return.
I don't mind Halo 5's Firefight, I'm gonna be honest. I like the concept of it, having these objectives, these bosses you need to kill.
Oh,
but
for sure.
It's
the maps.
It's the maps, and it's also the way they execute it that was wrong. I understand bosses being bullet spongy, but when you have this group of enemies that you need to kill before the boss, hooray, everyone goes ahead and kills them. And then as soon as you're starting to move on to the boss, the enemies respawn again. Okay, they respawn, let's go back to it. We do it, we're back at the point where we attack the boss again, and they keep coming back. And see, that's what they did wrong.
Once you wipe out the enemy, they should be gone, and then you focus on the boss. Yeah. I do say I miss the Halo Reach maps, and especially the ODST maps for Firefight. They were so fun to play on. My only problem, and I'm pretty sure you had the same problem with ODST Firefight, is it never ended. There wasn't an ending to it. You couldn't win. It was just as far as you could get. And I would like something that ends, or at least have a version of it that ends. I mean, if you want to put on endless waves, that's fine, but I think it's definitely something they need to bring back the older version of. And that wraps it up with the multiplayer section. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff you guys don't agree with in this video, or maybe you do. Just comment down below and let us know your opinions on the multiplayer.
So that's going to do it for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button as well. And make sure to click the notification bell to stay caught up with all our juicy like videos. Catch you guys next time.